And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Bud Elliott. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, aka the Cover 3 tailgate, where, Bud, the list of potential candidates is rolling. And don't worry, before we get out of here, we will definitely be going down the wish list candidates who might make sense, candidates who we think Oklahoma State should look at. As always, the Cover 3 search firm is ready to undercut all of the executive search firms out there. We will charge less money and give you similar results. That is what the Cover 3 search firm has always been willing to offer. Feel free to contact us, and we can begin those kinds of negotiations.
Reasonable rates. Chip, I'm a little bit disappointed we did not have. I know we're out of practice. It's our first one of the season, right?
No, it's our
first one I've been on. But you see those sirens.
Oh, yeah. And you see those sirens in your feed. You know exactly what that means. Thank you. Yeah, no, like we had it. We did have it for the Deshaun Foster, Brent Pry. Yeah. But we came literally right off of being on CBS Sports Network.
It's like, I just saw you, buddy.
Yeah, just a second ago. So if you didn't watch us live on CBS Sports Network, be sure to check the YouTube feed and your podcast feed a little bit later this afternoon. You can get our big game breakdowns for Penn State, Oregon. A nice conversation there. Big game breakdown for Ohio State against Washington. Some thoughts on Illinois against USC and much more. So yeah, I was like still in the CBS Sports Network mindset. So thank you very much. This is about accountability, and accountability is exactly what Oklahoma State is asking. Because while Mike Gundy brought a level of sustained success that was really unheard of throughout Oklahoma State's entire football history, 18 straight seasons in a bowl game, the recent struggles is really the modern definition, Bud, in my opinion, of bottoming out. How about Oklahoma State has lost 11 straight games against FBS competition? That is the longest losing streak against what we are calling major college teams in the past 80 years. They have allowed 41.3 points per game in that 11-game losing streak to FBS teams. And the only win in the past 12 games was against UT Martin in the opener, 27-7. It is the worst 12-game stretch for Oklahoma State football since 1935 and 1936. Oklahoma State is 4-11 since the start of last season. It is the worst 15-game stretch since Mike Gundy took over. So surprise is not a word we are reaching for here. The surprise is about the timing, right, Bud?
I think so. They had a bit of a dead cat bounce season there in 2023 that probably masked the downturn that this program was on. And a lot of us saw that coming. Like I bet them to win the conference title that year, 60-1. Thankfully, we were able to hedge that out against Texas. And I don't say that to my own horn. I say that to basically say, I didn't even like that team that much. I just loved the cakewalk schedule that they were set up with. And I thought the rest of the Big 12, was potentially pretty down that year, other than the Longhorns, who ended up winning it. They were really bad in 22, and I think like a very easy schedule kind of masked that. Obviously, they went winless in the conference last year. Some of the stuff that he did in the offseason, taking the reduced money, changing the staff up again, it felt like the writing was on the wall. And I'm sure if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you're saying, why didn't we just do this, last offseason, right? Especially like when you lose at home to Tulsa, it's pretty bad. But I think this is a program that should have some hope. Like if you look like north of Dallas, that area is expanding, so fast. It's a big population center. Oklahoma is growing in population like a lot. They do have some money. I bet you they have more money that will be more confident in giving to a guy who's not Mike Gundy. Maybe somebody who actually embraces the new era of NIL, of portal, of rev share, of treating your players like they're professionals, right? So I think there's a lot of hope for this program still within the Big 12.
Yeah, because while Mike Gundy undoubtedly has let this program fall off a cliff in recent years, he also raised their ceiling. He showed Oklahoma State what success could look like, and that is going to make whoever takes over this job, it's going to give them a better chance to be able to do it because of the community here. Now, for those of you who are just joining us, and we appreciate you rocking with us live for this emergency podcast, Oklahoma State plays against Baylor at home on Saturday. And Mike Gundy will not, best as we can tell right now, but Mike Gundy will not be a part of that game. So how do you manage the rest of this season? I mean, is this totally lost? They've got to play at Baylor at home this week. Then they go at Arizona. Then they play against Houston, then Cincinnati, then at Texas Tech, then at Kansas, and then we get our next bye week. Because, Bud, while we have some other coaches who've been fired, going into a bye week, that was what was going on with Deshaun Foster. They already had that bye week in between the 69-3 loss at Oregon and, as you mentioned earlier, the 19-12 embarrassment against Tulsa last Friday night. I mean, are you hearing from boosters? Are you hearing from season ticket holders? Are you worried that the product on the field against a conference rival at home is just going to be so toxic you don't lead them out there? I don't want to linger on the mechanics of it at all because we need to spin this thing forward, but I still can't quite get over how we're doing this at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday.
The timing is certainly weird. Typically you would do this on the Sunday. Also, wasn't that was a Friday night game?
That's what I'm saying. You could have fired.
You could have done it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if they had to kind of pass the hat a little bit to make sure that they could actually pay this buyout. Maybe it took until last night or early this morning to get the guys who write the checks to say, yeah, all right, we're done. If we don't want to show up for a conference home game against a rival in Baylor, might as well write the check. My guess is that's how the conversation went down. I don't know. I'm just trying to work through it in my head because it shouldn't take 96 hours since you lose at home to Tulsa of all people. I mean, that was pretty embarrassing. I also wonder, you have to kind of balance the factor if you're an athletic director. We haven't seen Wisconsin pull the plug yet on Fickell. We haven't seen Florida fire Napier yet. And I firmly believe the reason they have not is because they still have a lot of games to play. And if I'm Florida and I fire Napier now, I worry those kids are going to basically hold out in redshirt. If you wait until after the Texas game to fire Billy Napier, then those kids are locked in. You might as well play the rest of the season. Because that once you play 5 games, you have blown your year of eligibility. You can play 4 essentially for free. Oklahoma State's only played 3, so maybe in their mind it's untenable to go 2 more weeks of Gundy just to basically trap these kids on your roster for the rest of the year. Maybe that's part of the equation here. Maybe they think the team has quit on Gundy and almost anybody else would do better as far as motivating them.
We got 9 new assistant coaches. You know what my mind was going to? Remember when Brent Pry gets fired, they give Philip Montgomery the interim role, and part of the conversation that I heard was Philip Montgomery just showed up, and maybe that fresh voice is a part of this. Maybe with all these new assistant coaches, there is a little bit of a chance or an opportunity for some of these newer voices to try to get a hold of this locker room and try to get better performance, because they could have won against Tulsa on Friday night, and I would not have changed how violently ill watching Oklahoma State football made me feel on my insides. I mean, it was just like a subpar power conference football team. And so, you could know that this was going to be something that needed to be changed pretty quickly. Maybe that's got to be a part of it here. You just give some of these new assistants a chance to do whatever they can so that the product on the field is just not 100% embarrassing. That's my guess.
I think that's fair.
Do you want to give Gundy some flowers before he gets out of here?
Yeah, I probably should. I mean, this guy did a tremendous job at Oklahoma State. I mean, he won. What did he go to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Are you counting the bowl seasons? It's 18 straight bowl seasons.
18 straight bowl seasons. I mean, basically every year after his first year, He went to a bowl
until last year.
season.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a run, man. Like, would Oklahoma State sign up for the Mike Gundy experience again? Yes, and twice on Sunday. Absolutely, man. Like, he elevated that program, did a tremendous job with it. Games passed him by a little bit, I think. And maybe he has a reset. Maybe he's a guy who needs to drop down to a G5 where they're not really dealing with, players getting paid. But if he still wants to coach, I could see him in one of those roles, just not on a team that's doing rev share. I don't think he ever embraced the business side of the sport now.
Yeah, Mike Gundy, his whole identity was Oklahoma State football. He was a quarterback. He was an assistant coach for 5 years, left, came back, was an assistant coach for another 5 years. Now with a 2-decade run, 21 seasons as Ohio State's coach from 2005 to 2025, 8 10-win seasons in that span, 3-time Big 12 Coach of the Year. Of course, they win the Big 12 title in 2011. They play for it a couple more times, even outside of that. I mean, just, I'm a man, I'm 40, but which, by the way, the I'm a man, I'm 40 anniversary was yesterday. So happy anniversary to that famous press conference. But, of the years that Mike Gundy has spent on earth, majority of them have been loving and pouring everything into Oklahoma State. But for Oklahoma State, this is a sensible decision to try to move forward. I was hearing a power conference coach. Actually, I'll just go ahead and say it. There is an opportunity whenever you've got these long track records and these long histories to really lean back on it, right? And if you're Mike Gundy, and maybe if you're Dabo Swinney, you're like, look at everything that I've accomplished. But to me, the most powerful thing is when a coach is like, yes, those are standards and those are the benchmarks that we want to hit. But the way that we get there might need to change because the sport is changing and the players are changing. And if you, like what it seemed to be with Mike Gundy from my seat, were not willing to meet the players in the middle as the players are changing and not willing to adjust the way that you're doing it as the sport continues to change, then it is going to be impossible for the results to meet the standard that you have set. Because if Mike Gundy was just kind of making bowls, and that'd be generous, again, given what we have said about the way that this team is 4-11 in the last 15 games, about how this team has lost 11 straight games to FBS competition. But even if they were just going 6 wins, 7 wins, and he had never put together the kind of run he had, well, then it might be okay because the only coaches who had success at Oklahoma State left. And he was the only one that stuck around and made it sustained. So ultimately, this was something that Oklahoma State had to do, or else the entire program was going to regress as Mike Gundy's results regressed. They were going to end up right back where they started before Mike Gundy, as they just also ran in the Big 12 conference. So I totally understand the decision. Of course, timing a little bit questionable. Well, not questionable, timing a little bit head scratching, I would say here. One of the longest tenured active head coaches is now out. That list of the longest tenured active FBS head coaches is now Kirk Ferentz, Kyle Whittingham, Troy Calhoun, and the aforementioned Dabo Swinney. Coming up on the other side, we turn our attention to the future of Oklahoma State football, starting to kick around candidates where Oklahoma State might look, where they need to look, and more. Next.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, and a huge shout out to all of you watching live on youtube.com/cover3. We appreciate you responding because, yes, you see those sirens in your feed. You know exactly what that means. A Cover 3 emergency podcast. Great call from Yosef. Well, I hope is an App State fan, but Yosef said, third Power 4 coach fired after losing at home to a G5. That's right. That would be Deshaun Foster after losing to New Mexico.
Yep.
That would be Brent Pry after losing to Old Dominion. And now that is Mike Gundy after losing to Tulsa. I don't know how many of those situations we will have left, but I will say Billy Napier has somehow magically escaped that one.
Yeah.
But you mentioned some theories behind that as well. Sam Pittman took a loss to a G5, though that one was on the road. All right, let's play the game. Everybody's favorite game at this time of year. Where they going to go? The name game. Let's kick it around.
I think you have a lot of potentially really good options here. So,
would you hire Trey Lamb, the guy who just beat you?
I mean, I think he would be down the list a little bit just because of track record. There's a real big difference between coaching at the P4 level and the G5 level.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at some guys, as far as guys with head coaching experience, right? Golesh would make the most sense to me. He's doing a really good job at USF. He's won there every single year. Even when his quarterback got hurt last year, he still managed to win ball games. He was a GA at Oklahoma State. Obviously, he spent a good long while at Iowa State. He understands how to recruit the region. He runs an exciting offense. He also has Power 4 experience there at Tennessee. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think Eric Morris is doing a nice job at North Texas. Certainly a name that I've seen come up, from a lot of folks. I saw Zach Robinson, the former Oklahoma State quarterback, who's now with the Atlanta Falcons, get mentioned. And then on the coordinator side, Will Stein for Oregon. I don't know if Oklahoma State is a good enough job to pluck him, but it could be, right? He's a Texas guy. He was with Jeff Traylor at UTSA. I know Texas is not in the state of Oklahoma. Clearly, I understand how a map works, but a lot of times, I don't
know, culturally, we're talking about Stillwater, North Texas. Yeah,
exactly. I think Colin Klein at Texas A&M, former Kansas State quarterback, obviously has recruited the region before, played up there, understands kind of how things work. That would really piss off Kansas State fans, by the way, who are about done with Kleiman, and want to get Colin Klein back in there. So if you want a little Big 12 drama. We didn't mention him yet. I think that could make some sense too. Texas State looks fairly good this year. So
that's GJ Kinney is one that we've got actually a pretty awesome, a nice crew of Texas State alums in our college football editorial outfit. And this was one where the job opens and they're like, oh gosh, oh no. It's either that or Fayetteville that they've got as their main concerns for why they might be losing one of their beloved coaches, somebody who has kind of been on the radar at least for some potential bump up from the work that he has been doing in San Marcos.
Let me ask you this, because I got into some Arkansas fans yesterday on Twitter. Shocking. Would you rather have this job or Arkansas? Because I think we expect both to open.
Arkansas.
I think I would take Oklahoma State, man. Just because, Arkansas, from a rev share standpoint, we know their number's real low for football because they have to compete in basketball and they're also trying to compete in baseball. And they don't exactly have a huge, donor base there that actually donates. They have a good theoretical base, but they don't look what they did this year in the portal on defense. They clearly don't have a lot of money to spend on football, or at least haven't, to help out Pittman. And I think they're way behind in terms of football spending compared to the other SEC schools against which they're expected to compete. I bet you Oklahoma State is very middle of the pack in the Big 12. I think you can win at Oklahoma State. I don't think you can win at Arkansas.
I think that your chances to spike at Arkansas, I think you can get better players to Arkansas than you can to Oklahoma State.
Agreed, but the competition level is way higher.
I think Mike Gundy did a lot of very, very good work coaching them up out there.
Yeah.
We've seen
mixed
results at Arkansas, but they're usually a couple, Arkansas is not going to have as many good players as Auburn. Arkansas is not going to have as many good players as a lot of SEC teams, but Arkansas will get some special players in there. And the lack of investment right now might also be from people who are reading the tea leaves in terms of the long-term outlook of the program. This might be one where a coaching change ends up also opening up some wallets to be able to help with the spending process.
I will point out at Oklahoma State, like Les Miles was there for 4 years. His last 3, he took them to bowls. He was averaging 8 wins a year. Like that's not too bad. I don't know who the hell Pat Jones is, but he actually had 4 10-win seasons. Like that was kind of the guy before Les Miles. I mean that they haven't always been terrible. And they had a guy named Barry Sanders. Obviously that helped quite a bit.
Right.
And also Thurman Thomas.
Didn't they have Switzer too?
Yes. Wait, no. They had Jimmy Johnson. Before him. Jimmy Johnson actually didn't win there. It's weird, but he kind of set some things up, I think.
What would you do in terms of do you think that it needs to be a sitting head coach?
No, I don't think so, but I think if it's not, it needs to be a coordinator who has been in the P4 school.
Yeah.
That's why I think Trey Lamb is probably a rising star, but I don't know on that one.
What's the do you think Oklahoma State needs to try to back channel some stuff quickly in case this turns into, because here's what I fear. I fear that Oklahoma State made its move on Mike Gundy, and maybe they've known this was going to happen for a while. But if you are on Oklahoma State's list in mid-December, are you also waiting to see what the dominoes are in terms of other jobs?
I think it depends on, do you think Oklahoma State's a better job than the Hokies? We saw their announcement and commitment to spending, on athletics revenue. Mm-hmm. We didn't see like an NIL announcement from them, right? I think it's a lot harder to win at it's weird. I think Vatech has a higher floor and a lower ceiling to me, because there's no Clemson, Miami, Florida State in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Texas Tech wants to spend insane money every year, then okay, you might have one, but Oklahoma State could, if they really, really did it right, could be second in the Big 12 every year. That league is so wide open. Everybody's separated by 3 points for the most part, except for some of the new additions, but those are our teams trying to catch up from the rev share standpoint. What other small jobs? We already talked about Arkansas. I think that's going to be sort of just, coach's preference.
What if Baylor opens? Is Baylor or Oklahoma State a better job?
I think Baylor is a better job. Just because of money.
I'm trying to think about where else do we have our eyes set right now with the potential.
But if Auburn opens or if Florida opens, those are not debatable, right? Yeah. There's no coach I don't know, I'm going to pick between Oklahoma State and Florida.
Right. Are Ole Miss and Oklahoma State fishing in the same pool if Lane leaves?
No, I think Ole Miss is a pretty clearly better job than Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I just think Arkansas is about equal to Oklahoma State because I don't think you can win there. And I don't think Arkansas spends on football because they actually have to spend on basketball because Calipari, and they're really committed to spending in baseball. I guarantee you Arkansas's football spending number is very close to the worst in the SEC.
Do you think the same about Kentucky?
Yes, I think Kentucky. I don't think you can win at Kentucky anymore at all. I think they are all in on hoops.
Wow. What a great what a great statement on the current revenue sharing era. Because
you have to pick and choose unless you have somebody who's going to bankroll the sport you choose not to give the rev share to.
Yeah.
I don't think Arkansas is taking the SEC check and they're choosing to be good at basketball and baseball, and that's fine.
Revenue sharing just started, and we talked about the many ways that we thought it might impact college athletics, and the truth of the matter is that we are only going to be finding this out on the fly, and we're going to be finding it out at moments like this when there is a candidate who might be in the same conversation. And again, I realize Sam Pittman and Mark Stoops are still coaching their football teams. Let that be read into the record. But if we are hypothesizing that
I don't think Stoops is getting fired.
You don't think Kentucky will open?
I think they'll let Stoops go for several more years.
Ooh.
I don't think that's a big buyout.
Okay.
Who are they going to get that's better if they're not spending money in football?
Garrett in the tailgate with an interesting, is Oklahoma State a reset the clock job for somebody? Lateral move or maybe slight step down. And of course, I apologize that I always come back to this story, but I mean, he did have one very good year with the Cougars, but in our recent history, Dana Holgerson's move from West Virginia to Houston is like, boom, like, because he wins the Orange Bowl, leads them from the Big East into the Big 12, and even has a couple of, was it the Will Greer year with the Mountaineers where they were pretty good, like not a lot of wins, but he could tell that things were starting to run their course. He could feel the pressure, little sidestep out the back door, go to Houston. Of course, only ends up lasting a couple years, but did get a double-digit win season there. So I apologize that I always call this the Dana Holgerson, but is Oklahoma State a good option for someone to pull the Dana Holgerson?
Yes, I'm just trying to think who that might be.
Could Billy do it?
I don't think a lot of fans at Oklahoma State are getting excited over Billy Napier.
Would Oklahoma State fans get excited about Jimbo Fisher?
I don't know. Jimbo Fisher hasn't been like a value add as an on-field head coach in about a decade now. Like, things were not going well in Tallahassee from a coaching perspective.
If you're Oklahoma State and you need someone who is going to be able to organize the program, I think Jimbo can do that better than some of the coordinators that we're talking about. Like, how about this? Ben Arbuckle right now is a superstar offensive coordinator at your rival Oklahoma. And Ben Arbuckle might even think in his own mind, you know what, I could have that Oklahoma State job. And maybe he's right. But I
bet you could get it. I just don't know if he would take it. I think Arbuckle's like star is like I don't think Summerall would take it, and I don't think Arbuckle would take it. I think those guys are going to hire class.
Luke Fickell?
There's no way you're excited about Luke Fickell without those Notre Dame coordinators. Like, it's not like Wisconsin hasn't spent in NIL money. They have. He just hasn't won.
Man.
Shannon Dawson is actually another really interesting name for Miami. That's a good call out from Michael Quinones in the chat. Yeah, like that I could see.
Shannon Dawson's, because he was at Houston for a little. Was he? He's from the Dana Tree, right?
He was at Houston. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Let's see, Jonathan Smith. Michigan, I'd ride with Michigan State. It's too early.
I think Michigan State has some money. Somebody said we're purposefully ignoring a name, but I'm not really sure who. Dan Mullen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I mean,
that's one where Dan is. I mean, I know Dan's a big fan of the Cover 3 podcast, so hey, Dan, I'm not trying to disrupt your season.
Is he really?
UNLV is 4-0, so we of course want to celebrate the Rebels. We don't want anything to run off the tracks on our account for you, Daniel. But I would think that Dan's gonna be like, oh, nice, Oklahoma State's open. Maybe let's see what's that. Let's see what else goes through.
Kotelnicki.
John Gruden.
He was at Kansas. John Gruden. Oh, Bob Chesney at JMU. That's an interesting one.
I think Bob Chesney needs to get a look for Virginia Tech. I don't know if Virginia Tech, with all this recent spending and investing, wants to hire JMU's head coach, even though it worked out well for Indiana.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Are there any others that we would Ed Orgeron? No, I think we want Ed Orgeron or Todd Grantham to be the interim coach for every job that fires their coach.
Orgeron's not a serious name, right? Am I wrong on this? I don't know. Like, maybe I'm wrong.
I saw Smiley Kaufman post a video with Coach O at the Ryder Cup. I mean, I think that Coach O loves being Coach O.
I think Coach O's living pretty well, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, like to meet Coach O's requirements for a good life, I think he's already I think he's already checked a lot of boxes. Now he just has to go live it. It's not like he's chasing the dragon anymore.
Over under on Oklahoma State coach age. 52.5.
Who'd you look up that's 52?
Mullen just turned 53.
Okay.
And he seems like a young 53, you know?
Yeah. If there is a situation where Oklahoma State has had the potential to spend but is withholding because of their head coaching situation, I'd say under. Then you go younger, you're trying to, let it not be forgotten. Mike Gundy was opting to do that live show from a retirement home. Remember when he was taking the coach's show to the retirement home, which was endearing, and I kind of adored it on some levels, but also maybe, not necessarily connecting with the Utes, as they say. What about Sean Lewis, San Diego State head coach?
If he keeps winning, yeah, for sure. You tell us Oklahoma State fans, are you excited about Pat Fitzgerald?
No.
Not either.
I think Pat Fitzgerald can be a good coach.
At like a Stanford.
Yeah. But this would be tough. I mean, what would your idea be? That you're going into the Big 12 and you are going to be the zig to the zag? You're going to build...
I guess.
Our friend Joe Giglio always likes to say, build a different mousetrap, Like, see, Dana Holgerson. Oh, retread. Not a bad idea.
I don't think they're going to go Dana. It feels a little Gundy-ish to me.
I mean, it should. He's Gundy's old OC.
Right. But in terms of like some of the flair and I don't know. I would be surprised on that.
Yeah.
But I think
we mentioned Will Stein. I think we're
probably out of names here. We discussed him. Ryan Silverfield. Yeah, I do think there is a pretty good chance that all of the top coaches in the American get out.
Oh.
Like, I think Golesh has to get out. If you think about like the players that are carrying that team, they're all either draft eligible or transfer eligible. Like, I think he has, like, if they,
some writing on the wall.
Silverfield, I don't think has to get out. Memphis has FedEx money. Memphis has probably the most NIL money in the group of five. Like, they're on a different level.
Yeah.
And they offer $200 million to join the Big 12. So I don't think there's the pressure on Silverfield to leave. Summerall, I think it's probably just going to like be able to not totally pick and choose his destination, but
wait, at least, I mean, he's not going to be,
I don't think he has to jump for Arkansas in October, right?
He's not going to be introduced as the next head coach of Oklahoma State on December 9th or whatever. Because that's Oklahoma State would like for that to happen. So, lots. I mean,
Tony White, Florida State. That's an interesting one too. If you wanted to go defense, certainly. I think he's super impressive. I know UCLA, is interested. So,
I mean, don't you think Tony White might be interested in UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if UCLA doesn't go somebody with actual head coaching experience. Just given how the Deshaun experience went, like you might not want a guy who's learning on the job.
Brennan Marion.
How is Sac State doing this year?
I thought it wasn't going great. Is that correct?
So I'm going to say no on that one.
I mean, let me fact check this in real time. Sacramento State.
Buster Faulkner is an interesting one, but I don't think he will.
Okay, I might be off. Sacramento State handed it to Central Arkansas, handed it double-digit win against Mercyhurst, played Nevada to a 3-score game, but lost to South Dakota State. 2-2 on the year. Not bad. Jim Knowles ain't Jim Knowles ain't going to this job. I thought that part of the Penn State move was about the call back to Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
For the Philly guy. That was my hunch on that one. But
isn't Knowles older?
Yes, Knowles is older.
Spavital is an interesting one from Baylor.
It'd be a great opportunity for him. Do you know what Oklahoma State is? Actually, this is. I love that we get to talk these out on the air. That's why they're instant reaction.
Oh, I got two more for you.
Okay, Oklahoma State.
Finish this. Yeah.
Okay, Oklahoma State is a great opportunity for a lot of coaches who might have had a shot to be a head coach and it didn't quite work out, who maybe think that their star is on the rise, because Oklahoma State is the type of place where I think you can go in and you are not going to face some of the same challenges in conference play. As you mentioned, when we're talking about how good of a job Oklahoma State is, you probably get a little bit of a longer leash because of how coin flippy Big 12 play can be. But the opportunity is the ceiling of being able to make the college football playoff.
Yep.
So if you are a young coach, a coach on the rise, a coach who wants another chance to be a head coach, the O in Oklahoma State stands for opportunity. There is no guarantee that you're going to be able to win at Oklahoma State, but I do think that there is not as many obstacles in your way, and certainly the opportunity to make the college football playoff is something that a lot of coaches on the rise or coaches looking to be back in that direction should certainly want to take advantage of.
Okay, a few more here. Kirby Moore, the Missouri OC. I was watching Missouri the other day. Like I like the transfer back they got from Louisiana, but dude, like Kirby Moore can call plays.
Yeah.
And like he seems to be a rising star. Obviously, he's been around Eli, who does a pretty good job. Missouri has been very progressive in the NIL space and really embraced kind of the new model of college football. So I like that he's been around that. So I think Kirby Moore is certainly a guy you could take a look at. And I don't know that his star is so high that he could say no to an Oklahoma State if they came calling. A lot of guys in the chat are saying Jay Hill.
BYU?
The BYU DC. Interesting. Okay.
He is very good. We've sung his praises before.
I don't know if he has any ties, I guess, to Oklahoma State.
I mean, played at Utah, Weber State head coach for a long time. I mean, that would just be hiring somebody who won the Big Sky 4 times. It's not terrible.
Should we mention Jeff Traylor? I mean, like he hasn't been winning the exact same amount since they lost Frank Harris, but
if Oklahoma
good track record.
Yeah, if Oklahoma State hires Jeff Traylor, you're not taking a big risk.
Right.
And if he gets I don't think. And I think that if he gets the players, like when he had when UTSA had not an NFL offensive line, but when UTSA had offensive linemen with like power conference bodies and Frank Harris and Zachariah Franklin, then they were rolling. So you hired Jeff Traylor and you spent some money on players. Again, good opportunity there for Traylor. I'll tell you this, if Oklahoma State comes calling, Jeff Traylor's agent is like, yes, we would like to take that interview. And that maybe goes back to your point about the American Athletic Conference.
I love Georgia fans trying to get Mike Bobo. Guys, Mike Bobo called a good game against Tennessee.
Yes.
If you want to tell me Georgia's offensive line coach has slipped, I'll buy that. But Bobo called a fine game.
And listen.
Jason Eck. I mean, if he doesn't get the Wisconsin job, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Wisconsin hasn't opened yet, of course. Maybe they just decided to stick with Fickle.
You see Barry Alvarez started.
That was so lame, bro. Like, apparently the Wisconsin student ticket experience is god awful. Like they're saying they're waiting in line for over an hour to get in the stadium. And I mean, you got seniors who have gone to Wisconsin who have had nothing but a crap product their entire experience. Like Barry, he's so washed at this point. Like, dude, if that's what you're going to come on and say, just don't say anything. That's so lame.
For those who weren't aware, Barry Alvarez called Wisconsin fans, quote, spoiled after they were chanting "Fire Fickle" during Wisconsin's home loss to Maryland on Saturday. Luke Fickell addressed the complaints afterwards, and he was like, yeah, I knew what it was when I came here. I know what the standard is for Wisconsin success, and we haven't been doing it. Fickell owned up for it. He didn't need Daddy Barry to come and defend him. So Barry just decided he'd lash out.
Is Oklahoma State a better job than Wisconsin?
No.
Why?
Number one, Big Ten. Number two, I think that you've got a little bit more of a generational track record, because at Oklahoma State and Virginia Tech might have this. We know one coach who had it up and running and consistent.
Yeah.
You've been playing football for 100 plus years, and not others have not been able to find that. So that was the great success for your Florida State program, is that Jimbo was able to get in there, win some conference championships, win a national championship, break the it's just Bobby's program situation.
I think I agree with you. Also, I don't think Wisconsin's expectations are insane.
Well, it's just don't do what you're doing right now.
A lot of other programs would have fired Fickell after last year. And they let him hang around. I think internally Wisconsin probably realizes it's not a team that can win the Big Ten.
Right.
Right.
Not now.
I mean, do you think Wisconsin will win a Big Ten title in our lifetime? Going forward.
How about this? I'll say Wisconsin.
You're 40 or you 39?
I'm 38.
Oh, 38, sorry.
Yeah, Wisconsin will not win a Big Ten title in the next 10 years.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Because, Wisconsin might be the best program in the Big Ten if the Super League forms and the Big Ten sticks around, and,
that's fair.
Yeah. Just not knowing what college football is going to look like after 2032, 2034, 2036. I think that I'm going to stick to that as my sort of range that I'm willing to take a stab at. But as long as they are in the Big Ten with Ohio State, with Penn State, with Oregon, with Michigan, no, I think that is roadblocks that we're not going to see the Badgers break through. I thought they could lie to themselves when it was the Big Ten West. You say, hey, it's one game. You never know what happens on an early December Saturday. But once Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State got right, and I know that Wisconsin won lots of Big Ten titles with Brett Bielema, and even after Brett Bielema, I think it's a little bit tougher right now.
Yeah, I think the better way to phrase it for me would be, as the sport is currently constructed, where we don't have a real salary cap, and with the current construction of the Big Ten, I'm very confident Wisconsin will not win a title. If the structure of the sport changes, okay. And I think the thing you got to consider if you take the Wisconsin job is I don't think they expect you to contend for Big Ten titles. I think they do expect you to put a respectable product on the field that fans are not going to be yelling to fire the head coach over. Yep.
All right. Anything else? Thank you so much for jumping on, Bud. I appreciate you putting in the extra OT here.
Dude, on the interim is Meacham, not Grantham. Major missed opportunity.
Doug Meacham, former TCU offensive coordinator. Does that sound right?
And we have no problem with Doug Meacham. I'm just saying, Grantham would have been so much more fun.
Let's see. Where was Meacham? Meacham was at TCU until last year. Yeah. All right. There you go. We'll see how it ends up playing out. Doug Meacham taking over as the interim head coach for Oklahoma State football. Again, Oklahoma State fired Mike Gundy on a Tuesday, playing Baylor on a Saturday. We will be back here at youtube.com/cover3 on Wednesday for Big Game Breakdown, where it's going to get a little SEC heavy. I got to be honest, because we just did 2 huge segments looking at the Oregon-Penn State matchup, looking at then another segment looking at the Ohio State-Washington matchup, a little bit more on Illinois-USC. So what do we have left on the Big Game Breakdown checklist? That's right, just a small little showdown in Athens where it will be Alabama taking on Georgia. We also have LSU-Ole Miss, an old-school rivalry renewed, but it won't just be the SEC. We'll make sure to turn our attention elsewhere all across the landscape. some good Friday night action like FSU, Virginia, TCU, Arizona State, and so much more. And you can follow him on Twitter at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip _Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
See y'all.